Ride the signal through the unknown. This is the cryptic current.
The photograph tore with a sickening crackle of aging glue and brittle paper. Behind the smiling faces was another image, faded and hidden for decades. A scent of old paper, mildew, and something faintly metallic, like dried blood, rose from the tear. Her breath hitched, the air in the attic growing thick and stale, pressing in from the shadows. A soft, rhythmic scratching began inside the wall. Not mice, but something deliberate, patient. The names on the back of the hidden photo were not Mom and Dad. They were strangers, and in that infant's face, she saw her own eyes staring back. A truth that had been sleeping in the walls of her childhood home. The scratching stopped. A whisper, so faint it might have been the house itself, breathed a single word into the silence. Mine. My name is Emma Carter, and 3 years ago, a simple DNA test didn't just change my family tree, it erased it. To everyone in Oakridge, Ohio, the Carters were the picture of a happy family. David, the dependable engineer who fixed everything, and Linda, the warm-hearted school librarian who knew every child's name. Their home smelled of cinnamon rolls and old books, a sanctuary of ordinary comfort. But beneath that perfect surface, a biological truth was waiting to unravel everything they believed. Their daughter Emma, creative, beloved, their only child. Emma. I got Mom's terrible eyesight and Dad's stubbornness. I'm a true Carter. But there was always a whisper, a feeling Emma could never quite name, a subtle wrongness that clung to the air like static. Emma traced the faded edges of her baby photos, her olive complexion and dark curls stark against her fair, blue-eyed family. The family story was always the same. She inherited her looks from her great-grandmother Maria, who came from Italy. But the explanation felt thin, like worn fabric. A quiet, unsettling detail lingered. There were no photographs of Maria at all. Every question was met with that same gentle, firm deflection. Linda. Sweetheart, families are more than just genes. We're your history. Right here. The words hung in the air, thick with a meaning just out of reach. For years, that gentle lie was enough. For Emma's 25th birthday, her friend Sarah, obsessed with genealogy, gifted her one of those popular DNA kits. Sarah insisted, her voice playful yet insistent. Come on, it'll be fun. Maybe you'll find some royal Italian blood in there after all. With a shrug, Emma sent off her saliva sample and promptly forgot about it. Little did she know, that simple gesture would soon unravel a thread into the dark unknown. Life trudged onward. But 6 weeks later, the email notification chimed. Your ancestry results are ready. Emma clicked. The air in her apartment seemed to grow thin and cold. A faint, metallic scent, like ozone after a storm, pricked at her senses. Her world did not shatter with noise, but fractured in a profound, soundless instant. The DNA results revealed a shocking truth. 0% Italian ancestry. Instead, the data showed a strong percentage of Eastern European Jewish heritage. Her breath hitched as she scrolled to the top of her relative matches. There, listed as a predicted first cousin, was a name she'd never heard. Daniel Rosen, in New York. The lab result was definitive. We shared only 12% of our DNA. Emma's voiceover, barely a whisper, cut through the sterile silence of the room. My heart just stopped. The words hung in the cold, ozone-scented air. This was no clerical error. It was a chilling, immutable fact. A scientific, undeniable fact glowed on her screen. Who was Daniel Rosen? Her hands shook as she typed the message. The air in the room felt thick and stale. He replied within minutes. The notification chime echoed in the silent apartment. Her breath hitched. The reply contained only 3 words, each one more unsettling than the last. A text message bubble glowed on Emma's screen. Hi Emma, wow, a new cousin. My family is from Brooklyn. I have an aunt, Rachel, who had a baby girl she put up for adoption in Ohio in 1998. The narrator's voice dropped to a hushed, ominous tone. 1998, a metallic scent, like old keys and rain, filled the air as Emma's breath caught in her throat. That year echoed, a distant whisper of sealed records, and a secret now scratching at her door. Emma's birth year. The pieces, sharp and terrifying, began to click into place. This wasn't about some long-dead ancestor. A wave of ozone and rot filled the room, the realization sticking to her skin like damp silk. This was about her. Emma stood in the living room, the cozy warmth now feeling like a suffocating lie. Her voice trembled as she asked, who is Daniel Rosen? Who is Rachel? The question hung in the air, thick and heavy, like ozone before a storm. David looked at Linda. their eyes speaking a frantic, terrified language only they understood. Linda's expression shattered, her features collapsing inward. Her voice dropped to a raw, broken whisper. Oh, Emma. The story they'd constructed was a desperate, fragile thing. Linda had carried a child to 7 months before tragedy struck. A stillbirth. Devastated and knowing they could never conceive again, they were introduced to a private, discreet lawyer. A desperate mother, cornered by circumstance, sought a home for her newborn. No questions. Cash only. The transaction was a quiet exchange in a Cincinnati hotel room, heavy with the scent of damp carpet and cheap cleaner. They took the infant, Emma, from that sterile, transient space. No names, no records, just a silent, irrevocable handoff into the unknown. They forged a birth certificate, telling everyone Linda had given birth out of state. The damp, musty smell of the room clung to the air, thick with deception. David's voice broke, raw with emotion. We were shattered, and then you were there. A faint scratching sound echoed from the hallway, as if the lies themselves were clawing to get in. You were our miracle. We wanted nothing more than to be your parents, and we feared the truth would only cause you pain. I looked at the people I had loved and trusted with my entire being. In that moment, I no longer saw my parents. I saw 2 terrified strangers who had constructed my entire life upon a foundation of secrets, driven by a truth that eclipsed the pain. Emma boarded a plane to New York, the city skyline materializing through the window like a promise. In a quiet Brooklyn café, heavy with the scent of stale coffee and old paper, she finally came face to face with Daniel. Then, a woman entered. Rachel. The air grew heavy, charged with the iron tang of old memories. Their first shared glance was not a reunion, but a recognition of a shared, unspoken dread. They embraced, tears mingling in the dim light. Rachel's voice trembled with decades of buried anguish. She whispered of a scared young woman, a family's rejection, and a lawyer's hollow promise of a closed adoption. But as this long-sought truth settled, a colder one emerged. Emma's biological father was already gone. She discovered grandparents, aunts, uncles, an entire lineage of joy, pain, and affection she'd never known. Her mother's smile was now her own, while her father's laugh echoed from a decaying VHS tape Daniel played for Emma. It was like walking into a mirror. The revelation settled with a damp, metallic weight, like the scent of old film in forgotten rooms. For the first time, I saw my own features mirrored in someone else's face. A profound relief washed over me, followed immediately by a crushing grief that settled in my chest. The scent of old coffee and wood polish filled the air as I realized I'd gained a family. Yet in that same moment, I felt the one I knew slipping away like sand through my fingers. The home felt different now, a structure of ghosts and unspoken words. Love lingered, but it was now tarnished, stained by betrayal. Why didn't you ever tell me? All those times I felt out of place, you let me think it was in my head. Because we were selfish. We were terrified of losing you, and now we're losing you anyway. The music collapses into a solitary, haunting piano note that hangs in the air like a held breath. Emma turns her gaze directly to us, her expression a raw fissure of confusion and betrayal. Her voice is a whisper scraped raw by the question that has defined her. So, who are my parents? David and Linda, who raised me, loved me, but lied to me for 25 years? Or is it Rachel, who gave me life and has spent every day since haunted by that decision? The DNA test gave me an answer, but it also gave me a question I'll spend the rest of my life answering. My story is built on a foundation of someone else's loss and someone else's desperation. That desperation has a smell, like ozone and old tears, and it clings to every memory. Emma now holds 2 separate family photos, the weight of each heavy in her trembling hands. She maintains contact with both families, but this journey is fragile, fraught with therapy sessions and tense, difficult holidays. The law has no simple name for what David and Linda did, and the human heart has no simple path to forgiving. They always say blood is thicker than water, but what if the water is all you've ever known? What do you do when you discover your entire life is a beautiful, loving, perfect lie? The air in the room grew heavy with the scent of old paper and something metallic beneath. Her breath hitched as she traced the unfamiliar handwriting, each word dissolving the world she thought she knew. Names and locations have been altered to protect the innocent, and perhaps the guilty. A heavy truth settles over this tale, a weight that lingers long after the final word. As the credits roll, let the solemn music carry the echo of what you've just witnessed. Remember, sometimes the most terrifying stories are the ones we are forced to leave untold.